Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Here are your hosts, Jmann and Danny, the Midwest motherfuckers. Hello and welcome to Podcast with Jmann and
Danny. I don't do movie phone guy.
You don't do movie phone guy.
No.
Tonight's topic is civil asset forfeiture.
You can do that the whole show?
No, I'm not. That would be awful.
You should.
Nah,
just go with it.
Just the whole time. No, that would make it hard to take the shit seriously. Tonight's show is about civil asset forfeiture. And if you don't know what that is, it is...
Civil asset forfeiture is a legal tool that allows law enforcement officials to seize property that they assert has been involved in a certain criminal act. And the problem with it is, it's your shit.
They take it right up from under you, and he said that they assert that it's the part of criminal doing. It's not, they're taking your shit because you got busted. They're straight up just taking it.
They don't even need proof, dude. They can just take it because they don't like you and say they have proof. And then they charge your shit with a crime.
Yes.
You don't even have to be charged with a crime.
No.
Right?
No. So like you were saying the example of state of Minnesota versus $365,000.
And 2 cents.
Right. And it's always that state of Minnesota versus flat screen TV.
Right. And the other problem is that your property is presumed guilty and you have to prove it innocent.
So what they've done with this, as they use it and it's become more popular, is they've turned the legal standard on its head, whereas you as a person being charged with a crime, you're innocent until they prove you're guilty. And the burden of proof is on the prosecution, whereas with civil asset forfeiture, the burden of proof is on you to prove that it's not ill-gotten gains or obtained illegally. Which, who keeps a receipt for everything they own? That's essentially what you got to do.
My mom.
Everything?
Yeah, she got shoe boxes, dude.
Like big purchases, I'll keep the shit just in case. But I'm not like, you know, every time I buy a CD or a DVD, keeping the receipt.
No. Well, and then, like, you'd also have to keep receipts for, like, birthday money. Or benign shit like that, right?
Tools.
Theoretically.
Tools. Because, you know, how many people get pulled over and they're like, oh, you've got 2 screwdrivers and this tire iron in your trunk. Those are burglary tools.
Oh, yeah.
That's another fucky precedent that just pisses me off when I hear about it.
Yeah, it is. And it gives all the power to the police.
It does.
Like, if you look at them wrong and they decide to dig deeper for some reason and you have like $1,500 cash in your pocket and they check and see that, you ain't leaving the scene with that. Even if you got pulled over for speeding.
Right.
You're not leaving the scene with $1,500 cash. Unless you're fucking...
You got a bank receipt and a goddamn good explanation and
or
someone to make a phone call to back it up.
In a nice business suit driving a Mercedes. If you look the part, you know.
So what he's saying is if you're white and old and a man.
Yeah.
That's the precedent. If you're a white old man, they're like, I'm sorry for bothering you, sir. Please take all of your cash with you to wherever you're going. Or if you're black, they're like, sorry, darky.
Basically,
taking your
you
shit.
gotta be either the Monopoly guy or the guy from the Grey Poupon commercials.
Pretty much. Pablo, no me gusta.
No,
I'm seizing your shit.
Pablo, you're fucked.
And why this piques my interest, obviously, is because with me being a correctional officer, I hear stories about all the stuff that the cops take from people. But also with my law enforcement background and all my schooling, back when I was on the other side of this line, before I realized how shitty it was, and I was just learning about it, I didn't have any actual stories to apply to it from anecdotal testimony from people I met.
Early in their brainwashing process.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And they talk about how, oh yeah, you know this car we got? Yeah, that used to be a drug car, and we took it, and now it's an unmarked Suburban. That's why we got that Escalade, too. So they have, like, all these pimped-out fucking undercover vehicles for the Metro Drug Task Force, and they're all former trap cars they seize.
Yeah. So literally, when you see the cop car that looks like it should be a drug dealer car, it was a drug dealer car. Or at least the cops said it was a drug dealer car.
Yes.
It could have been just a 20-year-old who's got rich parents and pisses off the cops.
And he has some drugs on him.
On him, yeah. Sure.
So,
or they think he's the drug dealer. They don't even, as far as I would know from reading this stuff, you don't even have to have drugs on you.
Not
they
really.
could just swarm you one day and say that you're suspicious. You're 20 years old driving a Viper. Sure, it's suspicious, but who the fuck are they to make that call?
I wouldn't find him suspicious, but I'd find him to be an asshole. For
well, then it's
going to
come down to, it's suspicious in Minnesota? Yeah. But now if that same 20-year-old kid was living in Beverly Hills...
Yeah, no shit.
No longer suspicious. So really, who the fuck gets the call what's suspicious? you know?
They do, unfortunately. And the story that kind of hits close to home for me is I was talking to this inmate, and I saw him signing this piece of paper one day, and it said $22,000 cash. Well, what it meant was that when he was arrested, they seized his car and 22 G's out of his safe at home. And I asked him about it, and he's like, well, my girlfriend and I, we don't use the bank, and she's a bartender, so she's always got $300, $400, maybe as much as $600 cash if she's having an awesome night. So she brings it home, she throws it in the safe. So they took it all, and he said he got the car back, but getting the fucking money back is a whole nother issue.
They'll never give him that back.
No. So there are some organized institutions that are against this, and the biggest one in our country is the Forfeiture Endangers American Rights.org, or FEAR is the acronym. And what they are is a group that pushes for states to come up with new legislation to protect people's property more. And what they've been able to do that after 8 years of pushing their standard after they formed, they were able to cause the CAFRA Act in 2000, the Civil Asset Forfeiture Reform Act. What that did was make it so that you had to prove a case beyond just a preponderance of evidence. That being, well, it seems there's enough evidence to suggest that this is the ill-gotten gains we assumed it was, so we're going to take it. Before it was just prima facie, they could say, this is suspicious. Yoink! Another thing it did, the government is liable for damages to the property they seize while they're holding it. So if they take your flat screen, they break it, they're on the hook for the full cost. If they fuck up your car, they're paying to fix it.
So this is the law now?
That's what the CAFRA Act in 2000 did.
Oh, okay.
So this is 16 years ago now, technically 15, but
I got a feeling that might have changed.
It might have some, but the biggest thing that it did overall was give attorney fee awards to people that did not have the money to defend themselves to get their property back. And, sometimes when they do that, say you have to represent yourself to get your shit back, you like $75,000 they take from you, or even $7,500, and you got to pay your lawyer's fees, and you successfully get your shit back through a case in court, and then by the time you're done, you might end up with only like $1,500 coming back because you spent it all on lawyer's fees. And that's what the CAFRA Act did, was provide
a buffer.
Well,
insurance for the government.
It forced a new standard where the government had to pay for that, because when they're proved wrong, now they have to reimburse you for your legal costs because you had to take up the case because of their action. And I think that's great.
But then you got to pause and think about it for a second. So the government has to pay Joe Blow who got fucked with, but where is the government getting that money?
Taxpayers.
Double fucked.
Yeah. So we're on the hook for it. It's not like if there's somebody that sues a government agency for violence and injury in police brutality, or you get blindsided by a cop car running a red light to get to a call and they fuck up your car.
Right.
That's coming from an insurance policy that they've paid for. So they pay the deductible, which is minimal. They insure, these cities locally have to insure themselves for, tens of millions. If it's like New York or LA, it's got to be hundreds of millions,
right,
just by population. But otherwise, yeah, it's coming right out of the taxpayer's pocket for the government to pay for the lawyer to get back the shit that the person who was wrongfully accused had their stuff taken from them.
Just a clusterfuck. And see, I don't think any of that's going to get any better because
people like Loretta Lynch,
our current Attorney General, she's all for this shit. While she was a district attorney for the Eastern District of New York, she used civil asset forfeiture in more than 120 cases, raking in some $113 million for Fed and local coffers.
Ka-ching!
Now, you see how that read? For feds and local coffers. Every fucking thing they take off of anybody, they get to keep. And they basically spread it amongst the agencies that were involved in stealing your shit.
Yeah, it starts with the cops, and then the reason that the cops are allowed to keep anything by the feds is because they share it with the feds. It's all just, imagine your $10,000 they take from you that they suspect is part of a crime. And they divvy up the pie between local, state, and federal agencies. Now, the feds are probably going to get 50%, and then from there, the state's going to get 30, which leaves the other 20 locally, if they're lucky.
You don't think it goes by who is mainly the takedown agency?
Now the feds take it all. I mean, that's who really has set up these laws, because when I was reading, there are somewhere from 200 to 400 federal laws. It's increased over time, even though they've narrowed the focus of what they can take. So up to 400 laws that deal with civil asset forfeiture, and that's dictating what they can and can't take, the circumstances in which they should take it right away or wait on it.
That's just the small top that's federal crimes, right?
Mhm.
So think about down at the city level. All the shit the city cops take, obviously they don't have to kick something up to the feds, but they get to keep it all.
They will eventually.
Oh yeah?
Well, you're paying tax on it anyway, so you're kicking it up to the feds.
I suppose.
So your cops just want to get a few new tasers, so that's all they really want. And then the feds come in, and if it's something that they don't have use for, like the trap cars, well, maybe they do. Maybe the DEA wants tons of cars for down in the Mexican border, so I'm sure they take them all the time. Because say you see 6 cars from one guy in St. Paul. Well, there's no fucking way that St. Paul is going to get all 6 of those cars. Maybe they could use them, but odds are, I'm guessing that the BCA takes one, and the feds come in and take 2 or 3.
I suppose
St. Paul gets 1 or 2.
There's not really any crimes that only involve the local level anymore. It seems like you're federally fucked no matter what you do.
Especially if you're using that money to cross state lines.
Right,
There's tons of stories of people that they have an X amount of cash that they're saving up for this or that. You know, one is a guy that I think was driving through Arizona or New Mexico, and he got stopped, and they seized his cash, and they thought that it was illegal gains. And what it was he saved up his money, and he was going across state to pay for tuition. Or some guy that was stopped, I think, in Nevada, who was going to take a train to see his parents in upstate New York or somewhere around that area. They stopped him, took his cash. He saved that cash to pay for the ticket to take the fucking trip, for the whole trip. Ticket there, ticket back, lodging, food, all that crap. Yeah. And they took it. They're like, well, this is suspicious.
And that's just one level of the fuckery.
And it varies by the state. So I did a breakdown of what states have what level of protection. And the levels of protection are like from 1 to 9. 1 being the least protection, 9 being the most. And let me tell you that towards the most protected side of the spectrum, there are very few states.
Imagine that.
7, 8, and 9 with the most protection makes up 5 out of 50 states. So starting with the least protection is prima facie or probable cause, meaning that they could go, oh, well, we think that this right there, it could be something related to crime or drugs or this or that. And states in that category are Alabama, Alaska, Delaware, Illinois, Massachusetts, Michigan, Rhode Island, South Carolina. You bump to the next one, it's probable cause or preponderance of evidence.
Well, hold on, slow down. So those first states that you just mentioned, they basically can fuck you without lubing it.
Oh, yeah.
Right, okay.
It's the Wild West for that.
Just simplified it a little bit there.
Yeah.
Good. Next level.
That's a good analogy. So with the PC/preponderance for level 2 protection.
AKA fucking you with lube?
They're fucking you after saying, I'm going to fuck you.
Oh, they give you a... Okay.
That preponderance of evidence is that a decent amount of the evidence suggests it could be. It's
so
not
they spit.
Guarantee. Yeah, they probably are spitting on the tip. And that's states like Georgia, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Washington. So we're already up to category 3, preponderance. That's just the evidence suggesting this is a kiss on the forehead, and then a rub of the shoulders, and then a spit on the tip. And we're talking, this is the biggest category of states. Arizona, Arkansas, Hawaii, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Michigan, Mississippi. I already said Michigan once.
Well, maybe Michigan gets kinky.
New Hampshire, New Jersey, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, and West Virginia. It doesn't surprise me that Texas is on the low end because they're bordering Mexico on all the fucking narco shit that spills over on their side. But you go to category 4, preponderance evidence / clear and convincing evidence that suggests that it's related to crime. Kentucky, New York, Oregon. That's it. 3. Category 5, clear and convincing evidence. It's all but a conviction for this category. We fall into this category. Minnesota, plus Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Nevada, Ohio, Utah, and Vermont. I'm surprised that Nevada is right there in the middle of the spectrum because it sounds like a lot of shit's gone down over the years there.
Yeah, but they also got Las Vegas too, which throws a lot of statistics.
Category 6, clear and convincing, and beyond a reasonable doubt, California.
Interesting.
That is it. We're up to beyond a reasonable doubt. That's pretty fucking convincing. And that's Nebraska, North Carolina, and Wisconsin, which surprised me because Wisconsin has so much drug activity, and as I suggested, we were talking about this before we started recording tonight, up near the UP, there's all the snowmobile tourism. There's a lot of bars and strip clubs. Right, so there's a lot of easy ways for people that do dirt in that area that if they know a girl in the club to launder their cash, or they go to the bar and they know somebody that owns the bar to launder their cash. And it's up to whoever's getting involved if they want to go down with the ship But it's not like one criminal's just laundering all this money by himself through an ATM or going to Target and, I need change for a 20. And then he does that like 180 times in a week. Category 8, a conviction, and then they seize your property. Montana.
Nobody fucking lives in Montana.
No.
That's why.
I can't imagine that a lot goes on there, and it'd have to be probably Canadian border crimes.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is on the border, but that's why.
And of all 50 states, there is only one state with a legislature that has pulled their heads out of their asses and done something to protect the people. New Mexico, which is right next to Old Mexico and Texas. So, what happened was, I forget what year this was, the newly elected governor of New Mexico thought that this was out of hand, and she put forward legislation to the House and the state Senate saying, let's completely do away with this practice. Because that way, once you're convicted, it's proven that it's ill-gotten gain, so they're taking it. They're not seizing it just, oh, well, you might have done something. They know for a fact, and it's very rare that they even do that. They probably just hold it and then auction it off and then use the proceeds to pay for court costs.
And I bet there's a lot less court costs because you ain't got people going after the state for fucking them over for no apparent reason.
Absolutely. When we were researching this, I just kind of dropped the bomb on Facebook. Like normally we talk about what we want to do, and I was at work reading about this, and I'm like, shit. So I got on break, I logged on Facebook, I'm like, civil forfeiture will be our next episode. I didn't even ask Danny first, and then I texted him, I'm like, do you see what I posted? Yeah, what do you think? I'm down. And then like later on that day, he had done research, and here's what you came up with.
Well, first of all, you gotta know a little bit about me. I hate banks. I fucking don't trust banks. I don't like the fact that they can tell you you can only take so much of your money out at a time.
Right.
Why should anybody but me have say over my money? So I don't have a bank account, but I'm getting to the point where I might need a bank account just to continue being an adult.
Right.
Pay bills, And it dawned on me, like, okay, so $10,000 seems to be the threshold for suspicious money. You can only, the banks have something called a Banking Securities Act, or Banking Secrecy Act. And basically, the banks have to report to the government on any deposits you make over $10,000.
I think anything that you withdraw over 6
it's deposit
also flips
something
on the radar there.
Right. Obviously, I'm not going to be depositing $10,000 or more at a crack.
Right.
But then there's another law that they go off and call it structuring. So if you make multiple under $10,000 deposits, that also triggers their
because there's a time frame and what it adds up to. Right.
And so the way this worked in my head, I'm picturing, okay, so I'm looking to buy a motorcycle fairly soon here. And the bike costs $10,500. Either way I do this, it's going to cause the government to start looking into my finances. I have to withdraw $10,500 from a bank account if I decide to put money in the bank. Mm-hmm. So that's instantly going to kick something off to the feds and say, look, this is suspicious. And all I'm doing is buying a motorcycle. And the other way, because I'm buying it in cash. That's how I am.
And I told you how that would trip you up, because if you go into a car dealership and buy a car in cash, automatically they're reporting it to the authorities for investigation into the source of the funds.
And then also, now if I buy it from a private seller, which is what I'm going to be doing, that basically makes us both possible criminals.
Oh, yeah.
If I get pulled over, first of all, with $10,500 on the way to buy this motorcycle, I'm fucked. I'm not leaving that scene with my $10,000. I'm not coming home with a bike.
How tight can you roll a baller wad of 10 G's to get it up your ass?
No, that's not going to happen. Not unless you're into gay porn or something, dude.
Large bills.
And then here's the other thing. So I pay dude with the 10.5.
Then he's got the cash.
Then he's got the cash. So if he gets pulled over going to put it in the bank, bam, he's fucked. If he puts it in the bank, that's going to cause the bank to send off some shit to the government saying, look at this guy. All over a legal purchase of a motorcycle. The government feels the need to get involved.
Right.
And that's just fuckery on a high level.
Let me flip this scenario a little bit. Let's say you take your money and you go to this private seller, and it turns out to be one of those Craigslist scams, and you get mugged for your cash. You got to call the cops and say, this guy took $10,500 cash from me because we were supposed to be doing a transaction for a motorcycle. And they're going to go, okay, we'll describe him. Once they got past all basic information about him and what happened, they'd be like, where'd you get the money? Yeah. So not only are you a victim, you're not even getting a reach around when they fuck you in the ass.
Yeah, and you can't even, that's a good point. I wouldn't even be able, not that I ever rely on law enforcement to help me with anything. That's the last thing I would fucking do. But to the normal everyday citizen who thinks they could call on the police for help in that kind of situation, no, you're going to become the investigation by the end of that, talking to the cop.
Because there's tons of people that sell cars on Craigslist, or boats, or jet skis, or snowmobiles. I mean, that's pretty much the easiest place to sell anything because you don't have the fees like eBay. You don't have to get the vehicle inspected like you do with CarMax.
Right.
People just do shit there all the time. Like, I've sold used baby stuff through a garage sale group on Facebook. So that's like one step above Craigslist, because Craigslist, you can't be like, hey, Craigslist, watch out for this guy, because people aren't just going to read the warnings.
Actually, that's not true. I've been looking to buy an iPhone lately. Yeah. And obvious reasons I'm hesitant on buying one from Craigslist. But there's also, you see, post for a phone, post for a phone, post for a phone. And then you see this picture of this dude, and it says, caution, this guy is going out calling on cell phones and jacking them. And so whoever got a picture of him and put it on there. So the thieves do get posted on there too. But that's like, not the point.
With the Facebook group, now if you have any issues, they're fine with you reporting it to the group. Like, here's the issue I had, and here's the person, here's the user. So they'll get blackballed, and their name's out there for other people to see that they're pulling shit. No, it's not like the group's going to pull a neighborhood watch and go after this person for you. It's still on you to utilize the cops or whatever to get your shit back. But they'll just say, well, you agree to this transaction. It's kind of a civil matter. They love to play that card. It's a civil issue, so you're lucky we're even talking to you. That means it's not a sexy crime with an open and shut ending here. So we're
it's just not $10,500 worth of money that the department could possibly pocket.
There's no drugs. You weren't raped. There isn't a drunk driving charge. Your house wasn't burgled or
arson. A couple onesies and a...
Yeah, I sold a pack and play. I sold a bouncer, a couple of walkers. So that's
But basically, this law is just straight up the government jacking whoever they feel like they can jack. They're not going to go after, like I said, the businessman. Even if the businessman got his money in dirty ways, they know he's got a lawyer. They're not going to fuck with him. But the 20-year-old who could have very well worked his ass off for a nice car, just because he's living in Minnesota, he's out of place, and they feel they can jack him. He probably can't afford the lawyer to come and get his shit back. And then after he does that, you fucking down 3/4 of your shit anyway.
I wouldn't want to be a person of color driving through Utah with any amount of cash over like $500.
It happens here in Minneapolis too, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, but just those states that are so predominantly white.
Sure.
Like down south, can you imagine what it's like in the? Like I read the numbers, but even though they've been classified as levels of protection, I'm sure that shit goes on all the time. And the back road haulers are like Kentucky.
Well, it's only West protection, Virginia. Too, if the victim knows the laws. If they don't know, they're going to be... People will admit guilt to shit they didn't even do because they're intimidated by the police.
And the reason that this has been so successful for the police, and that they use this like their own personal Kmart shopping spree or ATM, is that most people don't have the funds. They can't afford representation at all, and they don't know the law, so the cops are like, well... sorry, we're keeping your shit.
Should we talk about what the cops get to spend it on? Okay, I seen this video of a police officer. It looked like he was at a town hall meeting or something, talking to city council or whatever, right? There are no rules as to how they spend the money. None. They could go buy whatever the fuck they want. The sheriff guy or whoever he was that was talking said that they think of it as pennies from heaven to buy goodies they want.
Yeah,
these
tasers,
were his exact words.
Vests, new light bars.
No, even shit that don't have to do with... One DA's office bought a margarita machine, dude. Literally turned the civil forfeiture money into their own private slush fund.
That's nice.
Fucking margaritas.
I was going to say maybe like workout equipment for their fitness room, or maybe like some food processors and shit for their break room.
But it doesn't have to be that. They can spend it on anything.
Taking a vacation with a couple of high-ranking officials in the department to go to a, air quotes, conference on law enforcement somewhere. Shit that they weren't going to go to because they didn't have the money, but now they got vacation time to burn in your hard-earned dollars they seized, thinking that you were a druggie, to go to someplace sunny like California or Florida for a conference, because nobody's getting together a bunch of cops in Tamahawk, Wisconsin.
Well, and then, like I said, there's no oversight to how they spend this money, so it just breeds corruption. We give them money through budget, and then that's what they use for buying their guns.
Because it's never enough.
in their shit.
So they keep going.
Right. So then the money that they use for civil asset forfeiture, they buy whatever else they want. It doesn't have to be even guns and shit. It would just be bullshit they want to buy.
Now, a couple cases that I have found when I was reading about this. The DEA hired a TSA informant to take cash from luggage. And it didn't state what area. They tried to keep the details kind of scant. But in 2015, the Office of the Inspector General found that between 2009 and 2013, the DEA seized $163 million in 4,138 cash seizures. And that's coming through airports. So
that's ridiculous.
Almost 4,150 transactions. They got that shit. Many of them were contested and overturned because they found out that the DEA had gotten this TSA informant for the sole purpose of flagging cash so they could grab it like, aha, gotcha, bitch.
But again, that person that they jacked the cash from didn't get all that cash back when it was all said and done.
No. And here's the bigger story that I found. This was in Nevada. A man was driving his Winnebago through Nevada. Already not off to a good start. $167,000 in cash stashed throughout this thing. Still not sounding too good for him. But it was taken during a traffic stop without a crime being committed, and the judge ordered it returned. They still have not returned the money. And what happened was he was pulled over by a cop who really was just bored. He didn't necessarily say he did anything. It was some bogus traffic stop. And he was checking the registration on the guy's Winnebago. He was checking his license, checking his insurance.
Saw a couple stacks.
And then, he went inside and found some money, and then he tried to get a backup squad to come with a dog, a drug dog, to sniff. But there wasn't one available, so he had to let him go. So in the meantime, he radios to the next county sheriff's department and says, watch out for this vehicle with this plate. I pulled him over, didn't have a drug dog. Pull him over on whatever, I don't know, just stop him and check it out, because he's got cash. And what they did is they stopped him again, and there were 2, air quotes, traffic violations, minor ones, and from that, they had him stop, so they took his cash. And the judge ordered the cash returned due to the second stop being planned. So because he called ahead and said, watch for him, it was kind of like double jeopardy for the first stop, so he was overreaching his power to just, it was an illegal stop, and then an illegal seizure. So what you've got there, what we use in the cop industry, is the term fruit of the poisonous tree. That you start any stop or engage any arrest illegally, and anything after that is going to get tossed out. You're going to be open to civil litigation, and it's going to be a real big dent in your rep as a cop because you did this going rogue, or you did it extra legally. But they haven't returned his cash. And what still has yet to be figured out is he incurred $157,000 in lawyer's fees. They seized $167,000. It's cost him $157,000 legal fees to earn the right to get his shit back.
Yeah, that should have never been taken.
Right. And what they're trying to argue, the judge is like, not only have you not given it back, you've withheld it, which means I feel like I should impose a penalty of interest. Well, you should also pay his legal fees. So that's coming from the taxpayer. So because this law dog had a hard-on for this guy's Winnebago, thinking he's probably seen too many episodes of Breaking Bad. I will suggest this. If you have that amount of cash on you, what the fuck are you doing?
Again, some people don't like banks.
Dude, that's like goddamn DB Cooper money right there.
Maybe
just rolling down the road.
Winnebago. If I lived in a Winnebago, all my money would be in the Winnebago.
Yeah, but would you be insulating it with cash? Because that thing starts on fire. Your life savings are gone, dude.
I suppose.
Mice get up into the fucking wiring and start chewing on the money.
Did you hear about the, there's other cases too where hotels have been seized by the federal government because drug dealers are dealing drugs out of one of the rooms.
Huh.
The hotel has no idea. They're just a fucking hotel. And it's usually obviously small mom and pop hotels off of the highway, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where you take hookers to, where you meet people for drugs. The hotel owner has no idea that Johnny Crack is fucking selling out of the 5th floor unit, or whatever, or the unit all the way at the end, To him, he's just fucking some dude renting off the highway.
Right.
Whatever. Cops kick it in, raid that, find drugs. Guess what? They consider that property now part of the crime. They've seized hotels. They've seized, like the rich kids I was telling you about. Sometimes they fuck around and sell drugs. And they get busted selling drugs out of mom and dad's mansion. The feds seize that mansion. I forgot, I didn't write down the numbers, but the feds have seized a lot of property in that way. from people who had nothing to do with the crimes.
It's not just the real estate. They're going to sell the house and they're going to auction off every fucking thing in the house separately. So you're stacking cash on cash on cash on cash, and it's all because your kid was about that life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, your kid was now who's most wanted.
Christ. I'm going to fucking sit my girls down and be like, I swear to fucking God, if you do anything illegal, do it at your mom's house.
Yeah, perfect.
Let her get her shit seized. I mean, probably don't do anything illegal, please. But if for some reason you find yourself with a lack of options and common sense, could you do it over there? Because my shit is legit and I don't need you fucking up my program. I already work for the government. They're already up in my ass with 2 fingers, all right? And they've been up there for 9 years now, and I'm starting to get a little raw.
Yeah, but it's voluntary with you.
Kind of, yeah.
You go in there and bend over and take it.
If I didn't have my kids, though, if I didn't have to worry about keeping medical benefits on them, I wouldn't work there.
Yeah.
I would go find some other fucking job.
I knew there was something still kind of keeping you there.
You work for the government, you're addicted to the benefits. That's what it is. People hate working for the government, but you get paid holidays, you get steady days off, plus you get, health and dental, which mine is shit.
I'm sure you get good retirement.
Kind of, but it's through the state. They contribute some, which, is better than nothing. Obviously, I shouldn't lick a gift horse in the mouth. And this is one thing where we keep dropping little morsels and breadcrumbs leading you on the Jmann and 2020 campaign trail. I would completely do away with civil forfeiture.
Yeah.
At a federal level. And they'd probably be like, what the fuck are you doing? It'd just be like, I would also, and this is probably going to be a very risque statement, I would shrink the military-industrial complex. Because it's like a business. Like, we're in the business of war and getting money to all these companies for new shiny planes and tanks. And why the fuck do we need all these fancy goddamn planes? Are we going to fight Top Gun?
See, the problem is the government as a whole needs to be shrunk because the corruption through all of everything in the government is so deep. Like, you just need to shrink everything. I don't see it coming to an end anytime soon.
No, it'd be impossible for somebody like me to get elected because it'd be so challenging to the status quo. You know who'd be like right there, number one, calling up anybody that would voice against me? The Koch brothers. Those billionaires that almost got Mitt Romney elected.
Yeah.
And that are always throwing their money around to keep conservative Republicans in office.
They play both sides of the fence, though. They give money to Democrats and Republicans.
Depending upon cause. They're buying candidates is what they do.
Right, exactly.
And I think that's horse shit, too.
Did you see Sarah Palin endorsed Trump this week?
I feel like that is the GOP's wild card to finally sink his ship.
I don't know, dude. I don't know if he can. Like, I look at Trump, and in the beginning, I was all for him, yeah. Then I learned more about him. I don't know, dude. He could be a Trojan horse from the Democrats. Right. He could get elected and then say, ha! I'm a Democrat. Fuck you. This is what we're going to do now. But then at the same time, I look at him like, this is a man who's not in government.
He's not a politician.
He's a fucking businessman.
That's what I said back when we were talking like in episode 1. Is That's why you said, well, you're very boisterous and un-PC like he is. What's the difference between you and him? I'm like, I'm looking at it from a political view. He's a businessman selling himself. He's selling a brand.
So, but the way I was looking at it mainly in the beginning is this guy's a businessman and this is what we need. We're broke as fuck and the business of the United States is fucked. We need somebody like him. But then I started getting into researching more, and I don't know, dude. This guy, he's definitely got the power, I think, to get elected at this point. He's got a lot of people behind him. But I think most of those people that are behind him right now are going to fucking hate him 2 weeks into his shit.
I think that President Trump would be like the dog that chases cars that doesn't realize what he would do if he caught one.
Yeah.
So he's going to end up with like a faithful offender when the car he's chasing stops suddenly. And he's going to just be like seeing stars like, oh, fuck, now what do? I got 4 years to do this. So, he can't just be like, you know what? I'm good. Peace out.
Putin even endorsed him.
Right. So, and somebody suggested, well, maybe he'll make Sarah Palin his VP. And I went, dear fucking God, no. No. I didn't want her as a VP before. I don't want her anywhere near the top brass of the government. She's fucking nuts. The only thing that could be worse than like Vice President Palin would be like Attorney General Michelle Bachmann.
Oh, okay.
And she's a fucking Looney Tune. Yeah, you're welcome, America, for her. All those sound bites where you laugh about what a nutcase she is. She came from us, 6th District. She is nuts.
And as you can tell, we don't talk like that. So knock that shit off, too. We don't got Minnesota accents.
Yeah, no, we don't.
She has it bad.
She does, yeah.
Sarah Palin's got some fucking weird Midwest sounding accent, too.
I don't care.
Or what they say we sound like. We don't sound like that.
No.
Sarah Palin sounds like Kitty from that 70s show.
A little bit. A little bit. A little bit.
My vote would go for Red Foreman, by the way. I seen that on Facebook today, and that was perfect.
Don't be a dumbass. Vote red.
Yeah, it was something along that lines. There's something along the lines of putting a foot in an ass.
So basically, we're going to wrap it up here, and I hope that you found this one thought-provoking. I want you to take this information, not just like, oh, yeah, cool that he talked about this. I want it to open your eyes to be more careful with your assets and just realize how at any moment the government that protects us with all the speed laws and the seatbelt laws and the this, the that, and the CDC and the FDA and all that shit, they're not our fucking friends. They're our handlers. And they have a leash on us.
The only way to change this shit is by the voice of the people.
Get out and vote.
Get out and vote. Get out and make noise about the shit. You know, government hates when you make noise, so go make noise.
We got to spread the word on this shit that the cops are robbing people blind. Yeah, they're protecting us, but there's like a 70-30 fuck you over to help you ratio on what the police really do for us.
And keep in mind, when I say make noise, I literally just mean make noise. Don't go out protesting, breaking shit. As soon as you become violent in a protest, you've fucked your cause over.
Yes. And don't block the freeway.
Yes, because I will run you over.
And don't go to the mall.
No.
And don't go to the airport.
Don't fuck over innocent people, because then you become just like the cops.
Put a sign in your yard, and yeah, that might make you more visible to the police, but hey, at least people will know what you stand for.
Right. Be interested in your government. You know, there's laws being passed and snuck in every session. Just fucking do some internet work. Go to your capital. Talk to these people. Find out what they're trying to sneak in and fucking put a stop to it. They sneak all this shit in because we don't pay attention. Most people don't fucking pay attention. They get their news from one source and they just go with it. There's not a whole lot of research going on.
And the CAFRA Act had a lot of government shit they snaked in. They were saying, okay, we'll reform, but this, that, the other, and by the way, they were just sneaking it in at the last possible second to make sure that they were giving up just enough to satiate the cause to make them feel like they accomplished something, but not so much that they really put a dent in their efforts.
And remember, he who gives up freedom for security deserves neither freedom nor security.
That's an excellent quote.
And I think that's a good spot to end it, huh?
So look for us on Twitter at WDWCI Podcast. Something. Twitter at fucking Twitter.
Just search Twitter. I don't know how Twitter really works yet.
Podomatic.
Like us.
And
follow us.
Spreaker.
Just search what do we call a podcast.
YouTube.
Just search what do we call a podcast.
It's our channel. And Facebook.com/groups/ what do we call it podcast. I am Jmann.
And I am Danny.
And that's the end.